You are not confused. That is the first thing worth saying. Now, you may feel lost, but lost is not the same as confused. Confusion means you do not understand what is happening, but you understand more than you think. You followed the path that was supposed to work, and you did what was asked of you, and somewhere along the way, something stopped fitting. That is different, and that is what this is about. There is a particular kind of lostness that has no obvious cause. You're not in crisis and nothing has collapsed in your life. You have a life that works, or at least one that should. But underneath the working of it, something is quietly, persistently off. You're not broken, nothing's out of place, you function, you maintain, you probably appear entirely composed to most people around you. But there is this thing that happens maybe in the middle of the night or in the middle of the day when the noise drops just for a moment and you think something is not right. Not outside, inside. Then the noise comes back and you carry on. How long has that been happening? Now, for most people I speak with, the honest answer is longer than I've let myself admit. A woman I worked with, and a composite of several people I've sat with, had spent 15 years building exactly the kind of life she had planned. And in our third session, she said something I have not forgotten. She said, "I have everything I wanted and I keep waiting to feel it." Then she looked at her hands, then at me, and she said, "I thought I just needed more time. I've been giving it more time for 4 years." The room was very quiet after that. And what she was describing is not depression, it's not burnout, and it's not ingratitude. And I've sat with enough people in this condition to recognize its shape when it appears. One of the working names I use for this pattern is mislocation, when something fundamental no longer fits. Yes, her life still worked on the outside, but something essential in her no longer lived there. Here is where I went wrong, and I want to be specific because I've watched a lot of intelligent people make the same mistake. When this feeling arrives, the instinct is to reach for understanding, read more, reflect more, analyze the patterns. Yes, I did all of that for years. And yes, real insight arrived. I had named what mattered. I thought I understood it clearly. The feeling did not go away. I remember sitting one morning with my notebook open, coffee going cold. I had written what felt like an accurate account of why I was where I was. And then I looked up and nothing had moved. That morning cost me something because I understood in that moment that I had been using understanding as a substitute for change. 6 years of mapping coordinates that left me in the same place. And very often, understanding is not the missing piece. It is a symptom of living somewhere that no longer fits. And knowing why does not move you, it just confirms where you are. The shift came when I stopped asking why and started asking where. Where am I? And where do I need to be? What matters is what that pattern points to. Something real has shifted and the life around it has not caught up. But not every feeling of misfit is mislocation. Sometimes it is grief. Sometimes it is fear or exhaustion or the accumulated cost of avoiding what needs to change. The work is learning to distinguish what is true from what is merely familiar. And the sequence of change is not fixed. Sometimes the interior work comes first. Sometimes an exterior move has to happen before the interior work becomes possible. And something real has to change. The next time the noise drops, do not fill it. Stay in it for 60 seconds and ask yourself this: if I removed every obligation, every identity I maintain for others, every story I tell about who I am and why, what would I find underneath? Not what would I want, what would I find underneath? Now, most people never stay in the quiet long enough to hear what it is saying. Where in your life right now are you maintaining something that no longer fits? And it's not because it is bad, but it's because the self it was built for has moved on and the structure has not caught up. I invite you to sit with that specifically, not in the abstract. There is one question in it, and your answer is the beginning of the conversation.